Good evening, everybody. It's June 5th, 2023, and this is a regular meeting of the Moscow City Council. Gina.
Happy June, everyone. It's our first one of June, and thank you for all being here tonight. Let's all stand up, if you would, and do the Pledge of Allegiance with us. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you, Gina.
You're welcome, sir.
First up is the consent agenda, and this consists mainly of items that were previously reviewed by the Public Works and Finance Committee or the Admin Committee and are generally of a routine nature or non-controversial. Any item can be removed at the request of any member of the council for further consideration.
I move that we withdraw B.
Which is the Lake County and City
disposal agreements.
Yep.
And that's item B, like boy.
Like boy,
Okay. Thank
Or
you.
Bravo.
we take that off of consent agenda.
Yep. So we can vote the rest of the consent agenda now. So do I hear a motion on that?
So moved.
Sound like a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Sure.
Lori, flip a coin.
I'll take the second. It's okay.
Okay. Drew,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Gina,
Hi.
Sandra,
Hi.
and Haley.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Now back to item B. Bill.
Thank you, Your Honor. So as the council is aware, the city conducted a sanitation rate study in 2021 to forecast both customer and contract rates for the upcoming 5 years. Recently, the nation has experienced higher inflation than was anticipated during the course of that study, and that has impacted some contracts the city currently has. So we contract with Lake Tahoe Sanitation for the operations of the transfer station. We also contract with Finley Buttes for the transport and ultimate disposal of municipal solid waste. Those two contracts saw significant escalation based on the consumer price index last year, and they both actually have different indexes and different percentages, so they weren't the same. But Lake Tahoe Sanitation contract went up 8.46% last year, and then the Finley Buttes contract went up 6.4% last year. So those are far in excess of what was anticipated when the 2021 sanitation rate study was completed. That rate study did recommend a 1.5% annual increase on the tipping fees that are associated with our contracts for the Lake Tahoe County and the small cities. So we do contract with them to accept their waste at the transfer station and then to haul it to the ultimate disposal site in Central Oregon. So after the most recent CPI adjustments, it is clear the rates are not covering the increased cost of operations. So if you can read this, and really it's really the bottom line that matters on this slide. So we did engage our rate study consultants to do a forecast of the impact of these most recent CPI adjustments to the long-term viability. This is just looking at the transfer station operation component of the budget, and really compared to what was estimated in 2021, what's shown here on the bottom line, which is the total change of cash flow, is indicating that if we continue with a 1.5% annual rate increase, we'd expect in 2024 to see a loss of $121,000 in revenue, and then that continues to grow up to almost $140,000 by the end of this 5-year term that these agreements cover. We are proposing to amend those agreements to increase that annual rate increase to 2.5%. So it's not dramatic, but it is adding 1% of rate increase. If we do so, that net flow, cash flow, while we still have a little bit of a deficit there shown at $43,000, the first year it does reduce over time. And again, these are just rate forecasts. It's quite likely we do see some fluctuation because we're going to get these annual CPI increases, but we do try to provide a more stable long-term rate for our contracting partners. So, this forecast to us appears to show that we'd be about breaking even the operation and not subsidizing the disposal for the county and the small cities. So the recommendations, as I mentioned, engage the consultant to look at it. They are recommending it to increase by 1% to 2.5%. So there'll be two sections of the agreement that would need to be amended. And this applies to all of the agreements, the agreement with Lake Tahoe County, as well as the other small cities that are included this evening. So section 11B would need to be modified to change it from the 1.5% annual increase to the 2.5, as I mentioned. And then we'd have to modify Exhibit A. That was just an exhibit that showed those increases over the next next 5 years of the agreements. So that tipping rate would then now move from $100.26 per ton beginning in FY24 up to $110.67 in FY 2028. So the action for the council this evening is to approve the proposed disposal agreements with Latah County, Beauville, Deary, Julietta, Kendrick, Genesee, Potlatch, and Troy with the recommended amendments to Section 11B to increase that annual fee escalation from 1.5 to 2.5% and to amend Exhibit A to reflect those updated amounts. With that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions the council might have.
I do have a question, and it's not a poking as much as it is just a real, actually clarification question. In this moment, would your normal process be to talk to all of the outlying communities and let them know this is a potential?
Which Tim has already reached out to those today.
Good.
We've also reached out to Latah County as well.
Okay, so no
Um,
surprises.
Correct.
That's.
And it's not
very
a
important.
huge dramatic increase. It is just adding 1% to that annual increase. And like the city today, all those entities are setting their budgets and their fees at this time. So
Yep.
this should work well for them during
Yeah.
the process.
I agree. Thank you.
So I want to clarify, this is for recycling and garbage.
Just for
disposal, or
municipal solid
just-
waste. So
Okay.
we extend the recycling services to the small cities, but we're only adjusting are the tipping fees.
Okay,
We actually don't
Okay.
charge the small cities anything specific for access to the recycling center, to the household hazardous waste site. That's all inclusive in the fees that we charge them as part of the tipping fee or the solid waste education that we extend.
okay. Yeah, my only concern is I've continued to hear a lot more about folks from Pullman and people who don't pay Latah County taxes or Moscow taxes depositing recycling at the recycling center. And so I'm thinking as far as like if we're seeing an increased usage or if we're subsidizing for other municipalities, like I'd love to noodle on that. But in this context, if we're really focused on the tipping, the tip.
Yeah, this is just tipping fees for
Okay.
the municipal solid waste that's being deposited at the transfer station.
Ruby, then I don't have concerns.
So I move that we approve it. I can read the whole thing all over again?
With the amendments as proposed would be
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Approve the proposed disposal agreements with Latah County, Beauville, Deary, Julietta, Kendrick, Genesee, Potlatch, and Troy with the amendments to Section 11B to increase the annual fee escalation from 1.5% to 2.5 and to amend Exhibit A to reflect the amended annual increases.
Second.
Moved in second. Further discussion? Nobody? Okay, Haley,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
and Drew.
Aye.
Okay, that passes and we're out of the consent agenda. So I was also going to note too, we didn't have any proclamations tonight, so I have no whereases
Oh, man.
to whereas.
I was pretty excited.
I'm sure the TV folks out there are a little sad about that part.
You betcha.
So
Yeah, no bingo score there.
Okay, on to the regular agenda, staff recognition. Evan, all yours.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City staff, members of the community. My name is Evan Timar. I'm the Public Utility Manager for the City of Moscow. So in the business of water, they say that no news is good news. And I think the Water Department can attest to that. And if the people that we serve don't know what we're don't think about what we're doing, then we're probably doing our job right. However, tonight I would like to recognize the hard work that 4 of our water department operators have done. If you guys could, when I say your name, if you guys could just stand up and then just you can sit back down. So we have Tasia North. Tasia is advancing from, or has advanced from a apprentice operator to a journey level operator. Then we have Dan Taff. He's advanced from a journey level operator to a senior operator. And then Jeff Black, he's advanced from apprentice operator to a journey operator. And then we have Anthony Henricks, who has advanced from an apprentice operator to a journey level operator. So with that, they've to get to that point, they've dedicated thousands and thousands and thousands of hours to this field, and they've passed all the necessary state examinations and the continuing educations for licensure. So they're highly competent individuals at this point, and it's because of people like them that truly, you know, they allow us to meet our regulations, the strict regulations of running a water system, and things such as you look at the water crises that many cities run into. The things such as the infrastructure bill, some of those, it's really important to invest in that infrastructure. And arguably the most important component of that is the people that run, that infrastructure. So, with that, please just, help me recognize them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Everybody.
So good stuff, guys. We appreciate what you do. And like I frequently point out, nobody really notices the work that you guys do except when it goes off the rails. And then everybody notices and quickly bring it to your attention. But anyway, you do a great job and I really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further staff recognitions? Okay. Okay, next up is mayoral appointments.
You don't have to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really thrilling agenda, you guys.
I promise it would be exciting.
Thank you for bringing your daughter and your
Yeah,
wife
no.
and your partners. Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
They're more sensible than we are. Okay, mayoral appointments. I have 3 tonight. I have Jeff Pilcher for Parks and Rec Commission, expiring 12/31/2025, and Gail Martin for Moscow Arts Commission, expiring 12/31/2025. And I have Stephen Mills, who is now the head of Parking and Transportation Services at the U of I, and he's been appointed by the university as their nominee for membership as required by practice and resolution on the Transportation Commission too, without an expiration date. So those are our nominees for tonight.
I
Sandra,
move that we approve the 3 nominees for the mayor's commissions.
Second.
moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
These are all really great candidates. Like they're so well qualified. It was kind of amazing to read their
Well,
resumes and their applications.
I'm delighted that people do that. So,
Are any of them present?
well, first we vote. Julia,
Information.
Maureen,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
and Drew.
Aye.
Okay, any of these folks present? Would you like to come up and say a few words?
Great.
You're great. It was all going so well till I asked.
So I'm Jeff Pilcher, interested in the, apparently appointed to the commission. I'm a longtime resident of Moscow, about 45 years worth. Folks were graduates from the University of Idaho, and this is where we stayed. So got away for just a bit and then came back in 01. Have several careers here in Moscow, but currently I work as a fundraiser for the University of Idaho. I'm at a stage in my life where I have time to do something like this, a volunteer. Empty nesthood is wonderful for those of you that join that. So no, I'm excited to be a part of this. For about those 45 years I've been here, I've done something with Parks and Rec for about that whole time. I mean, from T-ball up till coaching my daughter's basketball teams to enjoying just about every park we have here. So I guess this one fits pretty well for me. So
Splendid.
is there anything else?
Just thank you.
Thank
for
you.
What's your favorite
volunteering.
park? Which is your favorite
Oh,
park?
my goodness. that's me.
Well, East City. I mean, grew up in East City Park.
Love
I mean, I burned the nets on that basketball court pretty heavily, but all the activities that go on there, just love the Fort Russell neighborhood.
I love
mean, yeah, they're all quite nice, but it's hard to beat East City.
If you had to choose, it isn't a fair question.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so
very
much. Have we got Gail floating around?
You can.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't see Gail out there. I only see our 2 regulars. So,
Not
okay.
only.
only. No, not only. Okay, next up is public comment and the mayor's response period. And for the next 15 minutes in 3-minute increments, if you'd like to express some opinions to the city council on topics that aren't on tonight's agenda nor pending before planning and zoning, nor before the Board of Adjustment, feel free to come up, name and address, and let us know what's on your mind. Any takers tonight? No takers. Okay, moving on. Citizens Commission report for the Transportation Commission, to which we've just appointed the University of Idaho member.
Just briefly, Mayor, members of council, among a handful or dozens of other really cool things I get to work on since coming back to the city of Moscow is serve as staff liaison of the Transportation Commission. But rather than hear me babble like you do most weeks, I'd like to introduce the chair of the commission, Scott Sumner, he'll walk you through kind of some of the highlights of what they've been up to the last year or so. So thank you.
Welcome, Scott.
Welcome, or thank you. Welcome to my presentation. You guys are excited for it as I am. I've been on transportation for about a little over a year now. I enjoy the people. I don't see any of them here today, but I've enjoyed it. It's something that fits with, what I do for a living and what I enjoy around town, and it hits all the aspects of the town itself. So I've enjoyed my time on it. So I'll try and make this very quick too. Heard that's beneficial. Our purpose and duties: provide advice and recommendations to the mayor and city council regarding intermodal transportation issues, is directed with the goal of establishing a system of transportation and circulation within and around the city of Moscow. I'll make it possible for all people utilizing various modes of transportation to reach their destination safely and easily within a minimum disturbance to the adjacent uses. In the last few years, we've really seen the multimodal, the pushing of, whether it's the food scooter, the food coolers that, scooters around town, and robots, people and bikes, it's changing. So it's pretty exciting time. We also recommend to the mayor and the council policies and programs with the objective of implementing transportation goals and objectives of the Moscow Comprehensive Plan. Commission members, they're not all here, but they have been on this much longer than I have. It's a good team. It's very fun, and we have a good time. Contributions and accomplishments. The bike facility plan, if you've noticed, I think it just got painted. Right, 3rd Street just got painted. And we looked at a lot of the intersections, through this bike facility plan, really went through it street by street and really looked at what we thought would be the best, or our recommendations for various locations. And we even went back afterwards and said, well, does this really make sense still after, a year ago? And so that was one of the big aspects of the facility plan. This is Alman behind Rosars. That we looked at, and has various with the light cast building, and just looking at how people are moving and how it's changing. And once we change these, and as people are going to use it differently, that's always looking at, just because we made a decision doesn't mean we made the best decision at the time, but now things have changed. And so we always have to constantly look at the changes that we've made. Some of the ordinance policy studies, the shared mobility program, the scooters, personally deliver services, the robots, which I'm excited for. The downtown streetscape study, this sidewalk program, which we've kind of brought up quite a bit. And it sounds like it may be something that comes back where we can start getting some cooperation to replace sidewalks. I know my house is in desperate need of it. Development review. I did not pick the pictures, just to let you guys know. So we do development review on all the preliminary plats. The South Business Park, which is on Highway 95.
Mm-hmm.
That's the new highway on the left side of the screen that will come off there. And the Wild Rose Court, I believe that's Southgate, right off of Highway 8. So we just review those for transportation impacts with people, mobility with cars and bikes as well. So what's next? The citizen survey, which I believe is coming out shortly. We're going to talk about this week, and as well as the sidewalk program. It's trying to how we facilitate that and increase some of those areas where people are traveling, where sidewalks, tree roots and everything else has been damaging them. And so. Was that for questions?
Wow, you lived up to it.
That's right.
So questions?
Usually not as fun when I'm up here, so. I'm usually trying as quick as I can.
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I was going to say is I'm excited to maybe hear what the ideas are for the sidewalk program. I submitted a request for review. The form was super easy. We had an engineer who responded within, I think less than 24 hours, but I didn't know, I haven't replied to him because he gave me very clear guidance for like the sidewalk in front of our house is probably okay, but I kind of want to tattle on my neighbors on either side. And I don't know what the vehicle is to like ask for, a bigger review and like what advice there would be for approaching neighbors or things like that to take advantage of it. So I'm really excited to see that's on top of mine because it's a super cool thing that we're able to offer. So, and if anyone else wants to coordinate on how to not tattle on your neighbors, but like are interested in sidewalk improvement, I'm excited to hear about it.
Might have just taken care of the tattling on your neighbors thing
Yeah.
right now.
I live at, no, it's fine.
Oh, I know. I live on First Street and I have, my sidewalk's been destroyed. And I know that if someone calls you in, they usually check the person's house as well. So.
It's
Interesting.
my understanding nothing's mandatory though, is there?
I'm not sure on that.
Is there something, because we've got a orange cone that's across the street from me that has been there,
Years.
yeah, for a long period of time. And so I don't know if it's mandatory or non-mandatory or.
It looks like Mr. Palmer with his bolo ties coming up to fill us in.
Help on that a little bit. The sidewalk program, we don't have an active enforcement. And so we don't go out and do inspections and then but we do have a passive enforcement. So if we get notified, if somebody calls us in and lets us know, we will send someone out to inspect. And if it doesn't meet the standards, then we will notify the adjacent property owner and ask them to make the necessary repairs. So at that point, it doesn't become mandatory if we're notified of a deficiency.
Does that mean that notifying also includes sharing the sidewalk program, or is it just like you're on notice? Like, are we helping connect them with our existing programs
We certainly connect them with the existing programs as they're operating. The last several years, the sidewalk program, we haven't had bidders for the sidewalk program. And so we've had some discussions internally for ways that we can look at potentially maybe incentivizing that again. We're hoping to put it out again this year and hope we get some takers. But yeah, we let them know whatever programs are currently available and try and make ourselves resources through that process. Because we know it can be, not everybody knows what that means to replace a square sidewalk. And so
I really hope that you get it to have some kind of somebody to bid on it so that it's a large enough project that they charge less than they would do me as an individual.
yeah, that's traditionally how the sidewalk program
Yeah.
has worked. It's just the last few years with the quantity of work that the contractors have had, our small projects have not been as attractive.
Is what makes you think it's going to be attractive now?
Well, we've got some money in there to have some volume. And so we're not sure it will be. We're hoping that we've got enough volume that it will attract somebody, but year to year, we just don't know. A lot of it just depends on how their schedules have filled out.
We're here supporting you.
I have one follow-up, but that's okay, Mr. Mayor. Could I be fixing this with my neighbors with, after I call before I dig and I take my own pre-mixed concrete and are there concrete standards?
It has to meet
Okay.
the city's construction standards. And
Okay.
so there's nothing that precludes somebody from doing the work, but it will be inspected and has to meet the city's construction standards.
So we'll be asked to redo it.
Which you
Got it.
can't really meet for a sidewalk with bag mixed concrete.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for your service.
Okay, next up is Health Insurance Renewal and Program Amendment Proposal from Bill Belknap.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor and Counsel. So just to provide a little bit of background on the city's health insurance program, we do offer for our employees, we do offer 3 different medical plans, 2 different dental plans, and 1 vision plan. On the medical side, we have 2 preferred provider organization plans. So one includes a $300 deductible. The maximum out of pocket is $3,500 for the individual and $7,000 for a family. And we also have a $1,500 deductible PPO plan, again with the same maximum out of pockets. It's a little confusing, but honestly, from Regent's perspective, the maximum out of pocket is $5,000 for the individual, $10,000 for the family, and then we self-insure through Peak One to reduce that out of pocket maximum for employees. So it was when we instituted our 3-tiered program, that was a way that was deemed to be more cost effective, was to self-insure that maximum out of pocket down a little bit to what had been previously the prior level. The third option that we provide is a health savings account option that has a $5,000 deductible and maximum out of pocket for individual, $10,000 for a family. And it comes along with a contribution to the individual's health savings account that is equal to the premium savings that they provide the city by selecting that option. On the dental side, we have 2 options. We have Willamette Dental, and then we also have Regents. Willamette provides some cost advantage for things like orthodontia that the Regents plan doesn't cover, and some of the other maybe more significant dental procedures are a little more cost effective in Willamette, but then the premium is a little bit higher for the employee and their dependents as well. On the vision side, we've got VSP program that has some at least minimal benefits for employees on the vision side. For the coverage, the $1,500 PPO plan is our base plan. So that is essentially what the city funds for employees. And we currently cover 100% of the employees' health insurance premiums, as well as 50% of any dependents that they have on their plan as well. If the employees choose to participate in the $300 deductible PPO plan, then they are responsible for the difference in cost for not only their premium, but also for any dependents' premiums. And if HSA participants also have the benefit of whatever premium savings the city realizes for them or their dependents by their selecting the HSA plan, we pass those savings on to that employee through the HSA contribution. And that way we're making the same financial contribution to every employee's health insurance benefits, regardless of what plan they choose to select. If they want to have a lower deductible, they can pay the difference. If they want to participate in the HSA, then we put some of the premium savings into their health savings account for them to cover those costs. Historically, our increases, at least since 2019, have been 5% or less, but that did change for the renewal for the upcoming plan year. And our plan year begins in August and ends in July. The deductible runs the calendar year, and the deductible maximum out of pocket it's a little bit out of sync because we moved the plan year earlier in the year so that we could get renewal rates when we're doing the city's budget. So that's happening in March and April. So plan year begins in August, but the deductible maximum out of pockets cover the calendar year. You can see in this shows our premium increases from 2019 and the forecast or the increase that we are seeing for 2024. And on the far right column is the loss ratio, and that's really represents the percentage of premiums that Regents receives from us that they pay out in claims. So as you can look, 2019 was not a good year for Regents. They paid out 123% of what we paid them in premiums. They tend to like to see that number in the low 80% range is really kind of their goal. But you can see as of 2023, and this was through December of last year. So the plan year of 23, fiscal year 23, at the time that they cut it off, which was in December to calculate the renewal that we'd be getting in April, our loss rate for that year was trending at 97.5%. And for the month of January, it exceeded 100%.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question, if that's okay. So that means I'm seeing 97, and that means that we have had more employees who maybe are unhealthy or having large claims. And so what they're paying into what Premera is covering is them like exceeding their deductible or just
what they're paying out in claims. And this is just purely claims paid compared to premium received in the city. So they have paid out as of December for their 2023, they had paid out 97.5% of the premium that we had collected to them in claims. So that obviously indicates a need on Regent's perspective to increase our rates. And so 8.86% was the the average rate increase that was presented. This year, for the first year, and I call that a blended average because we actually received different rate increases per plan. So for the $300 deductible plan, the rate increase was 12.2%. On the $1,500 deductible PPO plan, it was 7.94% and 4.17% for the health savings account. So obviously the lower deductible, the likely that they'll pay more claims had a higher increase. Again, across all of that, that averages out to the 8.86%. But that was the first time. This is now, we'll be moving into our third year with 3 plan options. Prior to 2 years ago, the only option we had was a 300 PPO plan. And due to cost of concern, we kind of shifted the base to the 1,500 PPO to reduce cost. We continued with 300 if the employees want to pay the difference, and we introduced the health savings account as well. Willamette Dental, it did see fairly high utilization, so they were requesting a 5.9%. Initially, they were asking 10.2% for the year, but they agreed to spread that out over 2 years. So they're asking for 5.9% this year, and we would expect to see additional increase moving into next. Regence, it doesn't have orthodontia benefits or some of the better benefits for the more expensive procedures. They initially came in with a 1.2% increase. They decided to wipe that off as a 0% increase. And VSP on the vision side, there was no increase proposed. So for the $1,500 PPO base plan, this shows for the various mix of employees and dependents, the total premium cost, the portion that the city pays, and essentially what would be the resulting employee cost. And this is assuming we made no modification or change to the percentage of dependent care that we cover. So you can just see from the employee, we pay the 100%, and then we start to add dependents to it. For an employee and a spouse, the employee would contribute $444 a month. And so this is monthly cost. And then as you add up all the way up to a full family where the employee has to contribute $816 per month for full family coverage for the base 1,500 PPO plan. For the 300 deductible plan, that would be substantially more. They'd have to contribute. So this table just kind of shows the increases if we do not make any modification for each of the plans with a 300 deductible plan here. So just the percent change, the monthly increase, and the annual increase to the employees. So for the $300 deductible plan, just on the employee side, because they pay the difference of the cost increase, or they pay the difference between the premium for that plan compared to the 1,500 plan, and because that went up 12.2% compared to the 7% for the 1,500 base, they'd have to contribute another $34.60 a month, or about $415 per year, all the way down to a full family. They'll be contributing $162 more per month, or just under $2,000 for the year. For the base plan, for the employee, no increase because we cover 100% of the increase. But as you add dependents all the way up to full family, you see just under $60 a month of additional cost, about $700 per year. The increases are less on the HSA because the premiums did increase less. So again, for the employee, no increase in cost. And then for full family, increased $27, just a little bit over $27 per month. We have done some comparison, and this really kind of came from my attendance at AIC and other city management meetings and asking around the table with my fellow peers across the state of how much do your employees pay for full family coverage? And I very often heard something in the range of $200 to $300 per month when I knew that we were currently paying just almost $800 a month on the employee side. So this is just one basis of comparisons. We subscribe to the Northwest Data Exchange, which is a compensation and benefit Ameriben company. Actually, the company that did our last salary survey manages this database. There are 39 public agencies listed here, and this is the average for those agencies, other public agencies. So the survey average, well, so if you look here, so the total monthly premium, you can see the survey average per month was $737. Our premium for the individual employee is $755. And this is just medical, not including vision or dental coverage. On the full family, again, the survey average the premium was $1,971. Our premium was $2,269. On the employer cost, there was a few agencies that did require employee contribution for their coverage. So that employer cost for just the employee was $710, for the family $1,586, and the employee cost again for a single employee, the average is $25. That pointer really does block it. Was $25.28 per month. And the average employee cost for a full family was $378 per month. Again, down below in yellow is what we would realize if we don't make any modifications to our programs based on the premium increases for the base plan, where our employees would pay $816 per month compared to the survey average of $378. Deductibles are pretty similar. The average deductible is just a little bit over $1,200.
Just go back a slide for a second.
Sure.
I'm just a little lost. So this one says monthly employee spouse and children is $58.37.
Compared to the current premiums. This is an increase. So the employee increase.
$58.37. But your
Uh-huh.
other slides, it's like it's $800 a month.
Correct. The 58 is what is they'll be paying $58 more. If we have the employee pay 816, this is the increase they'll see on a
Right,
monthly
okay.
basis. Yep.
Sorry, just got
Nope,
lost there.
no worries. No, please feel free. Okay, a lot of numbers on the slide, so please feel free. Please feel free to stop. Deductibles are pretty comparable on the single employee 1,200 to our 1,500, so pretty close. On the family side, we're a little bit on the high side. The 2,300 was the average family deductible, where ours is 3,500. And then the bottom just shows kind of on a percentage basis, essentially for family covers, the employer on average paid 79% of dependent care. We pay 50% of dependent care. And that just kind of shows you the difference there. To give more concrete examples, we also compared with Coeur d'Alene, Lewiston, Post Falls, and Pullman. Those are kind of our 4 most comparable cities that surround us. That's kind of the labor market that we're competing for employees. Pullman actually has several options, 2 plans that have no cost to the employee. I picked the highest cost option just to give the better comparison. Again, it just shows the same thing for the various dependent mix of employees or spouse, child, children here. Essentially, the cost to the monthly cost to the employee for Coeur d'Alene. Again, deductibles are pretty similar. Post Falls is a little bit less than us. Pullman is quite a bit less than us on a deductible, but for the most part, 1,500 and 3,000 or 3,500 was pretty consistent. So if you just carry across the line, so employee plus spouse, the average here is probably going to be right around 150. For us, the employee cost is 444.
So I have a question. If you've got Post Falls, Pullman, and Moscow that are listing maximum out of pocket, how much does that lack of cap play into Coeur d'Alene and Lewiston's pricing? Like if that's not.
So Coeur d'Alene and Lewiston just didn't advertise their maximum out of pocket on their webpage. They put all the employee costs. We just didn't have that information.
Okay.
I'm going to guess they're going to be really pretty similar. I mean, the 3,000 individual or 7,000 per family is pretty
Standard.
standard.
Yeah, okay.
I think my guess is their plans are going to be really comparable
Okay.
to ours. And the maximum out of pocket obviously has an influence. The deductible has probably a little bit larger influence
Okay.
on the coverage. Yep.
Recognizing that you have explained this to me at least 3 times already, it does not look good for us. We're the most expensive.
We are expensive. I mean, if you look at the full family side again,
Yeah.
on average, you're probably in that 250 to 300 range. It's 169 Coeur d'Alene, 165 Post Falls, 300 for Lewiston, 327 for Pullman. And if we did not make any changes, we'd be 816 next year.
So I have a question. Is it just that our overall claims do we have more employees with more children than these other places? And is that part of why we're having to split this cost with like everyone's getting a bigger bill? Or like, is part of it because we're doing so much with so few people that like everyone's having to carry? Like,
I mean, our actual premiums are pretty comparable.
okay.
It's just we only cover 50%. They're covering 80 or more of dependents. They're covering a larger share of the
Okay.
premium cost.
Okay.
So just like the survey average of those 39 agencies, the average was they were paying 79% of dependent care. We only pay 50%.
Okay.
And so that's
Got it.
why the burden to the employees for dependents is higher. The premiums are really pretty comparable. So it's not anything, I mean, our premiums are always going to vary based upon that group. And we have probably compared to this group, we have a smaller group size than they do. We have 170 full-time employees typically. Coeur d'Alene's going to have, closer to 300. So
Yeah.
group size definitely impacts it. But your premiums and your renewal rates are going to be very specific to your utilization and the loss ratio. And so
Okay.
that's going to vary at different points in time across different organizations. And having a smaller pool to share that risk with means you're going to have more significant swings in premiums when you have those years.
Okay.
But really what this is highlighting is just the percentage of dependent care the city pays. We've been at the 50% level since 1992.
Okay. Which was likely industry standard.
That was the standard at the time.
Okay.
And that's the thing that Bonnie and I have really talked through, because as we've looked at this, she's like, that was the standard 10 to 15 years ago. It just has evolved and changed. And we just never kept up with that change.
You said 1992.
1992 is when we instituted that coverage. So the council, as we went through the recent update for strategic plan, identifying those significant issues facing the community, one of those that was identified and ranked fairly high was our inability to recruit sufficient staff to perform essential functions. And as one of those 13 most challenges facing the community, our dependent health insurance cost is over 3 times as expensive when compared to those 4 cities surrounding us. And while we worked hard to make compensation adjustments last year to try to get us within 10% of market averages, I think as anybody looks at a job, they're going to look at the total benefit, the total compensation, and we certainly are lagging behind on dependent care. On average, an employee with a full family with us is going to pay $575 more per month, or about $7,000 more per year, if they need to cover a full family when compared to those 4 surrounding cities. And nearly 30% of our full-time permanent workforce earns less than $25 per hour. And their cost for a full family would represent over 13% of their gross income.
Is there something, excuse me, can I ask you a question? I mean, they usually say housing should be like a third or 30% of everything. Is there something that is a statistic that says this is how much should be spent on
So
healthcare?
that's the next bullet point here in the next slide. So with the Affordable Health Care Act, there was a standard that was identified, and I think it was 9.5% when initially came out for the individual. But the initial IRS determination was just for the employee's cost. They didn't apply that or extend that to dependent care. The IRS just reversed or modified that ruling last year to state that same test should apply to dependents as well. And if your health care exceeded that amount, then that employee has the ability to leave your group, to go to the health exchange, to take advantage of tax credits to help reduce their cost. Previously, that again was only to the employee. We cover 100%. Never would have come into play, but the IRS just amended their ruling last year to say that also applies to dependent care, and those dependents can leave your plan and go to the health exchange again. But that's 9.12% of their total household income, not their wages necessarily here at the city of Moscow. It is their total household income. To give some context to that, this is essentially the annual household income that they would need to meet in order for our health insurance to be deemed affordable and for them not to be able to have access to go out to the exchange. So just for the full family, the household income would have to be $100,000 per year for our health insurance. And that 756 is different than 816 because I'm not including dental or vision. This is just straight medical. But essentially at that monthly contribution, you just do the math, divide that by 9.12% times 12 months a year, they'd have to have a household income of $100,000 per year. So we do expect this year, which is kind of the first year of implementation, that we are going to have to educate our employees that this is available to you. If our health insurance exceeds that percentage of your household income, you may want to take a look at the exchange to see if you might be better served there. Okay, so recommendations. So, I mean, we certainly strive to provide the best positive, supportive working environment, and I think we do a very good job at that. But ultimately, compensation, associated health insurance costs, and benefits are going to have an impact on employees' recruitment and our employee recruitment and retention. Shifting to 80% that would put us on par with our peers would be a cost of over $300,000 per year. That is not something that we're in a position to do at this time. But that is the financial impact. We spend about $2 million per year on health insurance benefits. So that would be a significant addition to that amount. We are recommending that we start working on incremental shifts in increasing dependent care and shifting that to 55% for this upcoming fiscal year. We are on the cusp of a potential recession. I don't know when or what that looks like or the duration or how severe. Idaho will probably be less affected than other parts of the country, but it is something that we just need to be mindful of right now. So, as I've consulted with the mayor during the development of the budget, approaching this in a measured and careful manner was something that the mayor wanted to ensure that we did. And that we commit to working towards increasing that dependent coverage over time as our financial resources can allow to be more competitive. If we increase to 55% coverage, the city employees and dependents would see an average savings of about $43 per month compared to what their premium would have been if the increases went up, or a maximum savings of $81 per month, again, for a full family, if we can, maintain our 50% coverage. So it's not a huge savings or a huge reduction, but it will help offset increases. And hopefully we can start working towards the path of trying to increase our coverage percentage. So this just shows, again, if you focus on the far right, essentially the 50%, if we stuck with 50% coverage, this will be the employee's cost. If we shifted to 55% coverage, this would be their cost. It's not making dramatic changes, but it is starting us hopefully down the path of helping to reduce that cost burden and to make us more competitive. And then we can evaluate further steps in future fiscal years as we move forward. But it's not a dramatic gift to employees. We're helping to avoid some increases and having a slight, maybe $20 a month, savings, but it is a start to us working on that issue. So again, same table, but showing the monthly change here. So people on the 300 plan are still going to see an increase because that 12.2% premium growth. But rather than full family being $165 a month, it'd take it down to $80. So rather than $1,940 a year, it's $967 if they choose to pay the difference to stay on that plan. Full family on the 1,500 plan would see a reduction of $23 a month. And this is compared to what they're paying today, not what they would pay if we didn't make a change, which is the prior slide. So there's just a slight difference in the numbers there. And HSA would see a slightly larger savings because of the lesser increase in premiums on the HSA plan.
Could you go back and let me see again what it is, how we compare with Lewiston?
Sure.
Okay.
So far right is the proposal. Okay, I see.
Well, I should actually go back one more slide because the difference between those two, this one is our current 50%.
Where we currently are, okay.
And the next one is if we went to 55%. So, if we stuck with 50% compared to Lewiston, they'd pay $299 for a full family. We're $816. Sorry, hit the wrong button. If we shifted to 55%, they're $299. We'd be $735.
Did you get bids from any other insurance companies?
So we did not go out with Regents on this renewal. We have based on our, so we engage a health insurance consultant, Murray Group. Based on our loss ratios, they did not recommend we take it out at this time. You want your loss ratios to be trending closer to what they're looking for another firm to really give you a good competitive price. The alternative is you could get a really low bait price for the first year, and they increased since that time. We've been with Regents for, I think, 30 years. So they did recommend that we stay with Regents for this cycle, see how we finish out our loss ratio for this year, and then we can evaluate options next year. We need to start that process 6 months sooner than we did this year if we really are looking to go out and look at other potential plans. Most of the other, Pullman is different because they're on the Washington side. They have the multiple different options. Most of the others are under Regents as well. I think Lewiston, Coeur d'Alene, both Regents. I think Post Falls as well.
I think it's great that we pay 100% of employee insurance, but that's a great deal. Like, I have never had an employer pay 100% of my insurance. Is there any thought to rebalancing it so that individual employees start paying part of it and then people with families don't pay quite so much?
Based on the market, I mean, other than Post Falls, nobody else requires an employee to contribute to theirs.
But like,
I was gonna
we all probably pay.
I would
part of it.
piggyback with Julia. I know how lucky I am to have really cheap insurance through my private employer, but I'm also thinking in terms of the difference, if it makes a difference of us having someone with kids who couldn't afford to take a job, who maybe has like trades experience and things that we need at the wastewater treatment facility, but they can't afford to leave their private industry job to bring their kids and spouse to work at the city of Moscow. If the difference is me as a single employee paying $10 a month, even, I feel like that's, and also in $10 a month as a single employee on a ticket. That's also, there's very few other places that you would ever work that would pay 100% of your benefits. So I'm kind of with Julia. I'm curious what the numbers would look like if even a slight increase for a single employee cost of, $10 would change how the rest of the figures look.
Well, you could apply that $10 to the 816. It's not going to.
Well, and I guess maybe that's the question.
Right,
How
a
many
lot
employees
more
do we
than-
have that are just single?
So 40% of our employees
Okay.
have dependents on their plan.
Okay.
I think
Go ahead.
Drew, I talk a lot. Go ahead. I'll
Okay.
go after you.
Okay, Drew, it's you.
Bill has been studied with the consultant that we bring on and then with the insurance company. And I recognize that what I'm about to say could be very expensive, but I'm curious. So let's say we have an employee that's been here just came on. We have an employee that's been here for 5 years and an employee that's been here for 10 years of service. Is there any way to, and as we talk about recruitment and retention, to say at 5 years of service, your dependents are covered at some percentage point, and then as you hit like 10 years of service, they're covered fully. And I recognize what that means. I recognize that's a lot of dollar bills, but to help with retention, like in the long term, has that been forecasted, or is it possible to get that forecasted?
We'd have to make some assumptions of mix of employees, number of dependents. I mean, we've not seen that in any other agency where they had a sliding scale. There are longevity pay benefits that some agencies have to reward on the compensation side, but not on the benefit side. And I guess my concern would be it's that young family at the early stages of their career that's probably seeing the more significant cost burden. Maybe not the employee that's been here for 10 years and has potentially promoted to a more senior position where they're in a position to be able to afford those benefits better. I really think we'd want to focus on having a uniform benefit to all employees. And if we want to look at retention incentives, then focus on the compensation side.
Right.
Although we did rework that to eliminate the market barrier to provide more freedom to reach up to the maximum that didn't exist previously. I think just the complexity of administering a variable dependent coverage would be difficult for us to budget, forecast, and administer. I really do.
Okay.
Thank you for getting off of that chart. We didn't look very good, and that was hard to. Oh, yeah. Thanks for-
So I'm just getting it back to where I was.
I'm hearing what everybody is saying here, and I think that we don't want to. I think we have to be careful. This is a giant balance, right? And if we start worrying about retention and recruitment more in our insurance, we might lose track of why we're really doing what we're doing. I think it's important that we make it that we can compensate our employees fairly and help them have happy and healthy lives supporting us the way they do. So I think that we need to move it. And I hate 55. I wish it could be 75.
We
But
started
again-
at 52.5%. So, I mean, that's
$1,
trying to
Bob.
avoid the increase and then felt that was insufficient. And so 55 is where I ended.
Yeah. And I remember that discussion. I just think I want us to have that as kind of a goal each year when we face this. This is an important step. We're not even in the same ballpark. And I think we need to remember that the 170 people that work here support everything we do. And it's just really super important. So if that needs to be a motion, Mr. Mayor, I'm willing to.
So I do have
Direction.
I
right
think
there
we
a few.
should- I think we should approve it.
If I heard you correctly, I thought you were saying that what we're going to do is 55 for next year and then continue to kind of gradually, based on the budget, increase incrementally.
Correct.
Because we
Exactly.
moved off of the 50%, which we've been stuck on for
Since
years.
92.
Correct. We need to evaluate how the economy progresses. We are forecasting reductions in state shared revenues in this fiscal year moving into next. The state is forecasting a rebound in 25 and beyond. I'd like to kind of monitor this and incrementally adjust as we can afford to do so.
I know you did the other cities, but one of our big competitors right here in Moscow is the university. And it's been a long time since I had kids that were dependent. And so at this point, I don't remember what percentage they paid.
I can.
Do you know that? Because the university is a place that we lose people to.
It's been a long time since mine moved.
I'll just say it's not cheap no matter who you work for.
Yeah. No, but the issue there is that do we lose people to the university if they do significantly?
Yeah, because per se would be the same.
I would say it would be WSU as well. It's not just University.
Wazoo actually has better benefits and better pay than we do. So that's just a given. I mean, it's just
And they're
clear.
in Washington with more choice.
Well, and
So the difference with, sorry, I don't have the slide available with me right now. The difference with the U of I was they did require a more significant employee contribution to
Right.
their health insurance plan. It was in the neighborhood of $160 per month for the employee. Then as you scaled up to the family, they were about $300 less per month for the employee cost compared to us. And then it kind of blended as you started working up and adding the dependents. So for a spouse and one child or a spouse and children, they were in that $250 to $300 more per month than we were. We were $250 more than the U of I.
So they were paid
But as you went
$1,000
down to the employee, they were $160 per month more than the city. Yeah, so 183 for the employee, and then for full family, for employee, spouse, and children, we are $285 a month more. For employee, spouse plus one child, we're $170 per month more.
And does it tell us what percentage U of I would be sharing of that? They probably don't have that.
So U of I is a difficult comparison.
Just a much bigger.
Because I think they self-fund
Yeah.
Okay.
and they can structure their plan differently than we do. They have a health savings account that is very attractive, actually has a very low maximum out of pocket and very low cost. So I was really just kind of trying to compare our 1,500 base plan to theirs. But they have a much more attractive HSA plan than we do. And I think that's intentional. We're trying to shift employees to utilize that. program.
And so with that, and I was in deep for a little while on like the self-insurance conversation, and I'm not at all anymore. Is that not on the table for us
Not with our loss ratios.
with the loss ratios? Okay.
With the loss ratio that we were experiencing, the secondary insurance we'd have to seek was cost prohibitive.
Okay.
And so we actually, those funds that we had held to seed the initial account were absorbed back into the city budget 2 years ago. So we don't have the seed money any longer.
Because it means you have to have the money available to pay the claims at all times.
You have to
I guess
seed
that
it.
makes
You have to
sense.
seed the
Okay.
account. But we did go through the process of setting up the trustees and getting it together. But then the secondary insurance market went downhill for us based on our loss ratios, and we were advised not to pursue it any longer.
And the other cities in the comparables self-fund, that's not common in the municipal world. Okay.
I mean,
thanks.
if you're large enough, yes, but most of these groups are too small to do it. And so the only one that I were in that group that was self-funded was the University of Idaho, I believe.
Okay, thanks.
Sandra.
Second.
Oh, there. Well interjected.
Motion from Gina,
Did we hear it
but we
first?
kept
Yeah.
discussing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, and just to clarify, the motion we have this evening is approval of the renewal rates and regions that were included in your packet that I talked about this evening, as well as modifying that dependent care increase of 55%
Yes.
next year.
Everybody got it? Okay.
Just want to add to it. Well, we'll vote on it and then I'll give you my little comment at the end.
Okay. So Julia,
Aye.
Maureen,
Hi.
Gina,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Haley,
No,
and Drew.
Aye.
Okay, so
Haley was a no, Lori, I got you.
Sorry, I was sneezing.
You're good.
yep, so there we go. Okay.
I just want to say that if, you know, that maybe make sure that we educate the employees in terms of how the insurance policy works and our plans on it. And so that we're, I mean, our goal is, I mean, I guess you can't promise that. Never mind. I was just hoping that you could promise. We're trying, at least we have a goal of trying to incrementally raise that portion each year based on our
There have
finances.
been considerable discussions.
Yeah,
within
right.
the-
And I've communicated that to the EAC and all employees.
Yeah, my no is not, I agree that we need to do better to be more competitive. I've got too many questions and I've got a couple other ideas. So I'm happy to know that we want to support that cost sharing. As far as the education thing during open enrollment, I guess the question is, when we're talking about insurance policies and during open enrollment, is that something that is available to everyone as we're talking about the changes of the insurance plan year over year, or does it end up mostly being as we're onboarding employees to go
So we
through?
have open enrollment sessions for all city employees.
Great.
We have multiple meetings here in City Hall. We also have a meeting over at the police department to catch officers on shift change. So we do make an effort to provide all the information to the employees
And
to
whatever changes.
educate them
Okay.
about the options available.
Groovy, thank you.
This was a lot of work. Thank you. And I appreciate taking an affirmative action in terms of how we're going to address this and our commitment to employees.
Okay. We come to the end of our regular agenda. Next up are reports.
Me first.
You ready to go?
I can.
Go.
Historic Preservation Commission was canceled, but I want to wish Nels Reese a very speedy recovery. And I hope all of our counselors do the same thing. He had some ugly surgery and he is at home recuperating right now. And he says his stomach isn't really sure if it knows what happened.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Planning and zoning was fascinating this time. And it's always a good time to see Miss Shelley Bennett at the planning and zoning. But there was a public hearing for a comprehensive plan, land use development, some cool stuff going on kind of down in the, where the new highway will be eventually, and some good stuff going on down there. And that was exciting. Planning and zoning, I tell you what, guys, they're reading books, reading magazines, educating themselves. I had no idea how awesome they are. They are just really good. I'm very dedicated to their community. Last but not least, Tree Commission is tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. I can tell you right now. I didn't see a whole lot on the agenda, which means that we can bird walk all over topics. So I'll come back and let you know what we talk about tomorrow.
I want to say that with respect to P&Z, when I was the liaison, what I found so fun is instead of canceling meetings, they would have educational times. Everybody have to read a certain magazine and then talk about it, or have a speaker in there. I thought it was really fun. Okay, so now on to mine. The SEC met and they came up with their dates on when they're going to do the farmers market, and they're going to distribute seeds. I was a little concerned. One of the dates is September 9th. The other one is July 22nd, but the seeds do best in the fall. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about pesticides and the pros and cons of pesticides. There's a question with respect to, and I'm sure probably somebody addressed it to the city at this point, process for supporting grant proposals. There's some concern about seeing whether or not we can get, kind of comes out of the high school environmental group about the solar projects and stuff like that. And is there ways that we can work together to get a grant for some solar projects in the city? Okay, so I can't see any responses on that one. And the Phillips Farm is going to have paid internships this summer, and it's money from the Ren Fair and school programs. So that was pretty fun. And they appointed the new student rep. We really are sad to see Ian go. He was fabulous. Let's see. We are actually going to try and get Paul from Avista or whoever he recommends to come and talk about infrastructure plans. And our next meeting is June 20th. I also was on, this is really fun. I was selected to be on, I volunteered, the natural selection panel, which is where you had all the little dogs and the animals, and you got to pick who won which category.
Oh, for
No, she didn't. I didn't put her in this year, but it was so fun to look at them.
Pet contest.
Oh my gosh, the city contest on it. And I want to say that Bill Belknap put in a nomination, but his dog was just sitting there looking at this kennel, and it was like no misbehaving. And it was, I wanted to add it to yet, but anyways, because it was just ready to go because he couldn't win, not misbehaving, but anyways, it was a really fun thing. And I really appreciate how there's fun projects that the city has and encourage them to like make it kind of playful. And we came up with suggestions on how to do it better next year. So there we go. Hope I'm on it next year too.
All right. I had a busy 3 weeks. It was really fun. And this is in no particular order. It can go by dates. I was just going as my poor little mind tried to remember these things. So last week, I do remember that one. The Latah County Historical Society and Inland Oasis put on the movie that was made, I think 30 years ago, called Out in the Middle of Nowhere at Moscow Brewing. And so many people came. People were clearly
30 minutes late.
Yeah, they started 30 minutes late because the line was so long to get in. And it was a really great response. And then they had a question and answer period with some folks that helped make that movie and were a part of that movie. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing the Counselor Haley there. That was fun. Yesterday, I got to help take money at the Humane Society kitten shower. I'm not even a cat person. I had a great time. A few years ago, they started putting on this kitten shower because the cat population is tremendous. And really, the one thing they would love to get out there is to spay and neuter all your pets. But cats, they have this poster about how often one cat in 1 year, how many offspring it has, and it's mind-blowing and very sad. And so we decided years ago to try and host a kitten shower. So you could get donations, but also you could get supplies. And I'm really grateful for all those that brought bleach. That's a big one. And baby food works and wipes. And then it was just really fun watching parents and kids and just people without kids come and enjoy the kittens. So I had a great time at that. Earlier, I want to say it might have been a Thursday. It could have been a Friday or a Wednesday. I had the PBAC reception at Best Western to two. There are two pretty solid candidates that they're looking to take over as executive director, and had a chance to meet with both of them. And I really enjoyed being able to ask questions and get their take and see what things look like. So I'm glad I'm not on the team that selects the executive director, but it was really nice to be a part of the group that gets to talk to them. So I enjoyed that a lot. We went to the chamber auction. I was there. The mayor was there. Drew sat at my table with his wife. Haley sat at another table a ways over. And I hadn't ever had a chance to go to one. Just the stars had never aligned correctly, and it did this time. And I had a lot of fun. It's really fun to see people giving so generously to the Chamber of Commerce, who really tries to do so much for our town and to combine in their efforts. And it's nice to see folks that you know in our business world just having a really good time together, being silly, raising some good money. And I appreciated our table. We had a great table. And so that was a fun event. I had the, 1912 development meeting. This seemed ages ago, but it was since our last meeting here. And that's going well. Of course, really working on raising enough money to get third floor bids, and we're not there. So really working hard at that. Jenny said they had a good Idaho Gives. So that was nice. And looking forward to the work they have going on right now. All of their other rooms are up and functioning and rentable. And I will say, just the other day, while I had to spend time between meetings, I didn't want to disrupt my dog's happiness, so I didn't go home for 40 minutes. Instead, I went to the little reading room at the 1912 Center, and that was a pretty great place just to hang out for a while. And then last but certainly not least, we had the URA subcommittee meet and talk about the two plans for
6 in Jackson.
Thank you, 6 in Jackson. And I'm tickled to be a part of that. They're interesting. I believe folks can see it online. So go look at it, see what you think. On the URA website. So look at that. I'm excited to be moving along on this project, and it'll be great to have something go up on that corner. Wait. Oh, yeah, I had one more thing I thought of late. Sorry. The other great thing I got to do, I got to be part of the Palouse Prairie Passages.
Yeah.
And I had the best time. 8th graders do a passages presentation. They all have to do it. It's like a little portfolio project. And I was in the morning part, so I heard, I think 4 students, they have to report on different aspects of what they have done at Palouse Prairie Charter School. And just really impressed. One girl is already talking about genetic research, and she's an 8th grader. That was one that really stood out because I'm like, wow, I don't know even yet if I could spell genetic research consistently. And you are already knowing how to study it. So I'm in awe of what they're doing. There was another young man, I don't mean to leave anyone out, but I was fascinated that over COVID, he's like, yeah, I thought I could just get done with everything really, really fast because, you know, it was COVID. And then I could have the rest of the day to do stuff. And I found out that didn't work very well. And then another one who over COVID learned how to computerize his own video games because he wanted to be able to make friends, and he couldn't because you couldn't go into anyone's house. And he made friends in the video world, and they started coding their own games, and he learned how to play the drums, and he wants to go into making his own video games with the music. And I was like, wow, what a great gamut of things that happened, and how lucky I was to be able to sit in on that. That's what I got.
Julia,
Okay, real quick. May 19th was Bike to Work Day, and I participated in that downtown. That was fun, especially since I was working from home. So I just went downtown and had a cup
Big
of
bike to
coffee and
work.
then rode my bike back. The 22nd was Public Works and Finance, and we've already talked about all of that. And then I had CETA, the Clearwater Economic Development Association, and the most Moscow thing they talked about was that we had the Dream It, Do It conference here, which was a conference of 48 employers and training programs who presented to 500 regional high school students. So that moves around the region, and this year it was at U of I. And they maxed out on the number of kids. So they had to cap it at 500. And there were lots of people talking about different kinds of work you can do in the region and training for jobs like being a nurse assistant or things in like mechanics and different trades. So that was a pretty cool thing. And this week is Transportation Commission, so we haven't done that yet. And today I spent a couple of hours with the Arts Commission volunteering to stuff the brochures for Art Walk, which is the 15th. So don't forget to go to Art Walk on June 15th. There are 27 host locations this year, so it's going to be a blowout. That's it.
Haley,
Yeah, I had a great time at the chamber auction. Thanks to the mayor for your awesome live auction donation. I am fortunate that with my other hat for work, I sit on the chamber board, and it's been really cool to see and watch the UI Design Build program do some really cool stuff to revamp the chamber space. So really excited about that. I think they're maybe able to move in, staff's able to move back in next week maybe. Got to stop by the final beam setting at the Moscow Pullman Regional Airport. Right. And so I'll let the mayor speak to that, but I signed Haley Lewis and the Moscow City Council crew because I knew I was the only one able to make it, but that was really fun. It was a beautiful day for it. Had a great time out in the middle of nowhere. Pathways Commission had a great showing for Bike to Work Day. They were at the market, the farmer's market. And then Sunday, the 21st, I think, of May was their bike tour. I missed it because my sister was getting married in Coeur d'Alene, so I was sad to miss it, but
Such priorities.
I know, right? And we'll hope I was about to say it's just the once, but it's her second wedding, but it's fine. Anyway, she's great. Everyone's happy. It's fine. Smart Transit's doing some I know she doesn't watch this. She's in Coeur d'Alene. It's fine. Don't tell her.
TMI.
Smart Transit's doing some really cool new branding things. I've been really excited to see Andy lean into getting the word out about smart transit. So we're working on some bus decals, maybe a U of I bus decal to make sure students know about our cool free local transportation. And then let's see, Human Rights Commission is working on their fall activities. Apparently there's something got lost in translation. The Moscow Middle School, something similar to, is it Passages? What is it? So, the middle school does an open house, and it was meant to be open to all the community. And I ended up seeing Chief Fry there. My mom texted me that the night of, and she teaches at the middle school, and said, stop by if you want. And you got to see all the students do these really cool projects, and got to say hi to a bunch of teachers, former teachers, and people who were my student teachers who are now full staff. So I let her know to help me, let me know, and we'll get the word out next year for it. It's really fun to walk through. And I've got my calendar marked for Art Walk, since I missed May's Art Walk, but it'll be great. It is on a Thursday this year, not Friday. And I'm looking out at the audience at Tyler Palmer to ask, I also attended the PBAC meet and greet. Have we extended an offer to a candidate yet? Have we heard back yet? Okay, so I'm looking forward to hearing about an update about our new executive director for PBAC, who can help us get those projects across the finish line. But yeah, that's what I got.
Drew.
All right. So my fair and affordable housing meeting, that was canceled this month. And so we'll be having one a little bit later this month, though. Parks and Rec, I actually was out of town for that, so I wasn't able to attend. But I'm excited to have a new member aboard. Get that filled up again. And the pool's going to open up soon, so get there.
Do we have lifeguards?
Sure. There are lifeguards. They always need more lifeguards. So I don't think that's ever not going to be a need. So
Just another record, the PBS just had a program on how they're getting master swimmers to go
smart.
be, people that are sitting there at 5:30 in the morning, they get up and swim. Instead, they can actually get them to be lifeguards and train them.
that's great.
And the last I heard, we had 45 applicants for lifeguards, so we were feeling very good for this year.
Well, we don't need master swimmers.
Yeah.
Love that.
Next year. And then again, went to the chamber fundraiser. It was great to see lots of people, and first time going to that. So
I heard the Shirley Temples are deadly.
they're crazy good, out of this world. Not as good as Black Cypress, but they were good, still good. But they were deadly. And other than that, just watching a lot of Cal Ripken baseball, supporting that local league. So go Storm. Not biased at all. So,
Love it.
My part back, it seems so long ago because we had a fifth Monday where nothing happened. So back in the dim distant, the chamber sponsored a legislator lunch where we got to hear from our local legislators, which was enlightening. As always, on the 19th, Habitat for Humanity had the key ceremony, turning over the keys to the new house out at Green Acres, and at Green Sides. Yep. So anyway, turned over the keys, and it was a very lovely time. All the people that showed up to help out, and no sooner were the keys handed over than the truck that was backed up to the front door was being emptied. First thing the two kids hauled in were the video game consoles, number one.
They're going to say the truck hit the house.
Mailbox down. Yeah.
But there were a lot of good people there really doing a nice job wishing the new homeowners well. Made an introduction to a conference here. The public work operators from the Pacific Northwest were here talking about how to move water back and forth through a city. So it was very well attended, something over 100 operators were. I don't know who was running the plants while they were here, but somebody was deeply involved for quite a bit, along with Bill for budget preparation. I know it's eagerly anticipated. Last time I counted, it was 293 single line pages. Have fun. Also went to the airport top out, signed the last piece of steel as it went up, and it looked great going up. It was really impressive. And those iron workers, they know their stuff, and amazingly still got all of their fingers. I don't know how they managed that, but this huge piece of steel and jamming the initial bolts through the thing, it was really quite impressive.
Yeah.
And still on target for December 31st for substantial completion, which is really encouraging. Also, the PBAC meet and greet, really good. And of course, the Chamber's fundraiser last Saturday night, always a hoot. I was hoping to outbid Scott Green's cabin up on Coeur d'Alene, but mine's still an unknown commodity, but it still did very well. And so that's what I had. Anything from staff?
Just a couple quick updates. So this week, I think we do have the breakfast meeting. So it is every month. So we'll have that this week, 7 a.m. on Wednesday.
At Wallace?
Yeah. The only other item is the next couple council meetings are looking to be a bit challenging for quorum. So we have the Juneteenth holiday coming up on June 19th. But we also have the mayor and a couple of council members heading down to AIC on the 20th, where our council meeting would be that evening. And I think, Maureen, you're out of town as well at that time. So we'll be evaluating agenda items, see if we have something that we need to have approved or whether we can delay. The challenge with that is the following meeting would fall on July 3rd, right before the 4th of July holiday, where I expect we also may have challenges having a quorum. So then our next regular meeting date would be July 17th. So I'll be evaluating. We don't have a lot of items in the queue, but we may consider having some remote participation on the 20th from council members who may be in Boise or somewhere else to help get a quorum. If we have something we need to take care of, I'll let you know here fairly soon. But just a little update on meetings coming up. We had anticipated canceling the July 3rd meeting due to the holiday conflict as well.
Would it make sense at all to move it to the 26th? Like, are we in any better shape if we were to instead meet on the 4th Monday, and then like you could forego the week of the Juneteenth?
I think we can just first assess whether we need to meet or we can wait till the 17th.
Okay.
The only item that we did have a public hearing for the annexation that was on the 20th. We already talked to the applicant. They're fine moving it to the 17th. So that's being re-noticed for the July 17th meeting. I'll be out of the country on the 26th. That doesn't mean we couldn't have somebody sit in. We'll just evaluate what we
We should
need
do
to have
it. It'll just be
something
chaos. I'm
updated. So
Kidding.
that's it, Your Honor.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to hear a motion to adjourn to executive session per Idaho Code 74-206, 1F, and we will not reconvene afterwards.
So moved.
Second.
And Sandra seconded. So, Drew, Julia,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Gina, Sandra,
Aye.
and Haley.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned and going into executive session. So thank you all for coming.